All right. After the derby, when Carrick first came in, I spoke about the importance of maintaining levels, not necessarily the performance would stay as good or stay the same, or the way of playing would stay the same. Of course, it's different when you play in different opposition, but the fundamentals stayed high. And what I meant by that was your basics, your non-negotiables, levels of motivation, body language, commitment, getting out to the ball quickly when the opposition has it, not cutting corners on or off the ball, being really disciplined, and treating each passage of play and each duel as if your life depends on it. And the key to our success really was whether or not we could maintain those levels, albeit understanding that not every game was going to go perhaps according to plan. And looking at that as the barometer rather than anything else, I think the City and Arsenal game we played with phenomenally high levels of those fundamentals. Fulham and Spurs was good, not quite as good, but still good enough. And then the last four games, those levels have dropped significantly. Now, three of those four games we've been playing against teams that are happy to give us the ball, and that isn't our strength. And I think we're a much better team. We're a much more energetic team when there's a real to and fro and there's an ebb and flow to the game. And I understand that when that doesn't happen, when a team doesn't allow that to happen, I understand that those levels and those fundamentals might drop slightly. You still need them though. You still need them. In fact, you might need them even more in games like that. And the Newcastle game, you're not playing against a team that's playing a low block. You're playing against a team that comes after you in a big atmosphere, and the levels still were not there in that game. And I think what they did when we went down, sorry, when the irony, when they went down to 10 men and how they approached the game, it is quite telling about what they thought about United. You know, they'd gone in at half time, been down to 10 men for about, I don't know, 15 minutes, including the injury time. They'd gone in front. We'd equalised with almost the last action, really, of the half. So they're down to 10 men. We've just equalised, which should take the sting out there. The wind out of their sails. And you've got the momentum. We've got the momentum. But in the second half, they just came out and I thought, I don't mean this, don't take this the wrong way. They showed no respect for United. It was just like, we're not worried about you. You don't present anything that worries us. We're fit, we're strong, we're quick. We'll play a high line still. We're going to play as if we've got 11 men. Whatever, Man United, we're going to come at you. And I think that's quite indicative of how they obviously felt the first half went. You feel a game sometimes, and they obviously felt we can come out and do you it. And it was quite weird because for the first 25 minutes of the second half, they were far better than we were. To the point where I thought, and I said this in the post-match, maybe we're doing this on purpose. Maybe we're hoping that they just blow up and run out of steam. And I said on the post-match, it gave me Southgate with England vibes. Just sort of hang in there, just do enough, rather than take the ball by the horns and take the game by the scruff of the neck. And to be fair, from 70 minutes onwards, United dominated. And we should have won the game, really. But it's not the losing that concerns me. We've got a terrible record at St James's Park over the last few years, and it is a tough place to go. It's not the losing that concerns me. It's the way we've played for 4 games. And I would say that those fundamentals that were so high against City and against Arsenal, they've dropped. And with that, the performance levels have dropped. And I wonder if the fitness levels have dropped as well. And maybe the reason we're not reaching those levels, or maybe one of the reasons we're not reaching those levels, is because of the fitness levels dropping. And Amorim didn't get an awful lot right at United, but I think you'd have to say his teams were very fit. And in the first 2 games against City and Arsenal, you still had the remnants of that, and the fact that it's 2 games that you can get easily up for. And the rest almost took care of itself. Games like West Ham away, Everton away, Palace at home, I can sit here and argue till the cows come home that any Man United player should pull on that shirt and give everything in every game. Of course they should, but that's not the modern world we live in. That's not the psychology of the sport. They are harder games to get up for. They are harder games to keep those levels high for. So it's a mixture for me of the fitness looks like it's on the wane. Their levels of fitness look like they've gone down. And also these are games that are probably harder to get up for. And then subsequently what you see is the dropping of those fundamentals and those levels, like I spoke about and I keep speaking about. What that means is that the Villa game for me, which was always going to be an important game a week tomorrow, is significant in many more ways than perhaps it would have been. Of course, I want us to win. We're playing a team in and around us. It was always going to be a big game. We've just had a defeat, and whoever we were playing, you'd want to get back to winning ways, or certainly back to playing well. I think more than any of that, Carrick, between the Newcastle game and from now until the Villa game, I think he's got to find a way of tapping into something in the psyche of these players, maybe increasing work on the training pitch to get their fitness levels up. But I want to see them come out of the traps like rabid dogs, like caged animals against Villa, and for us to see a real appetite and desire like we saw in those first couple of games and get those fundamentals back up. There's no guarantee, by the way, if we do that we'll win the game, because sometimes your levels can be really high and it doesn't work out for one reason or another. But I know the difference between watching a team who's got those really high basic fundamentals and levels and one that hasn't, and I want to see it, and I think it's absolutely necessary. We have a far greater chance of winning the game if we can get back to those basics. And if he can't oversee an increase in those levels, it's really concerning. It indicates there's no longevity to what he's been doing. It was just a case of come in, bit of feel good factor, beat a couple of teams when we were underdogs, and then it fades away. And performances undoubtedly will suffer if we can't get back to those basics and those fundamentals. That said, every chance we could come out and do what I just suggested against Villa, every chance we could come out like caged animals, every chance we can improve, and every chance we can go on a good run again now. There's always going to be blips, there's always going to be bumps in the road, and I'm concerned about what I've seen over the last 4 games. I hope that the Newcastle game and getting beat teaches the players there's a natural consequence to that in the end, and in some ways it galvanises them. Symbolic of United's dip in the last 4 games has been the performances of Mainoo, who started so well under Carrick in the games against City and Arsenal, was pretty decent against Fulham and Spurs, and then has been progressively worse, I'd say, in the last 4 games. You do sometimes have a dip when you're not played for a long time. You come back in, adrenaline's pumping, you can live off that for the first few games, and then there's naturally a dip. Yeah, fine. But I think we've got to be careful about how we frame Mainoo. There's elements of our fan base that are pinning too much on him, pinning hopes of him being a generational talent, or that he is a generational talent, that we can build our team around him, that we should sign him up to a long-term deal on whatever the lad wants, that he should play every week. For me, he hasn't done anything to warrant that. My take on Mainoo is he's a talented kid who's showed glimpses of brilliance. Few injuries, times where he's looked inconsistent. Being inconsistent at his age is perfectly normal. But so is being on 75, 100 grand a week, not 150. He hasn't done anything to warrant being on 150 grand a week. He is a good young player who should certainly be in the conversation for starting. He should be in the squad of Man United, and he needs competition around him. And let's see if when he's 22, 23, he establishes himself in the team week in, week out, stays injury free, by and large, and if he can play to a good enough level, then fine, 150 grand a week. He's not warranted it yet. It's too much too soon. We've been here before, and this black and white mentality of it's either he plays every week, we build a team around him, he's a generational talent, give him what he wants, or we sell him. I don't want us to do either of those things. The truth lies somewhere in the middle. It doesn't help him. It doesn't help him to have all of this on him. And I've not seen enough to suggest that he can deal with that. As I say, Mainoo for me is probably symbolic of the team. It can go either way. He could have a brilliant career in the game. He could be somewhere in the middle. He'd be all right. He might tank. I think any of those three things are possible with Mainoo. And that's the same with the team for the rest of this season. So there's grey areas in both the team and in Mainoo. Where there's no grey areas for me is we need new owners, and the legacy damage of our ownership and how poor it is was there to be seen on Wednesday night. We brought on Tyrone Malacia in the last few minutes of the game, so sparse is our squad of quality. No disrespect to the lad. If we want to be up there or thereabouts in the Premier League season in, season out, and competing in Europe and the two domestic cup competitions, you need 2 players for every position. For that to happen, we need 9 players. Not 9 players over the next 5, 6, 7 transfer windows, and I'm including the winter windows in that because we just don't do anything in those windows. We need 9 players very soon to this team. And it's not happening. It will not happen under this ownership. As it stands right now, playing by and large once a week, we're having to bring on players like Tyrone Malacia. And it's cost us. Regarding Carrick and what happens with him, I did the video sort of detailing my thoughts on his prospects of getting the job, or certainly just weighing it up really. I didn't commit myself too much, and I think I'm a bit non-committal at the moment. I've always said that if he gets Europe, he'll get the job, whether we like it or not, he will. And we're in a very strong position still. Whether he gets Champions League or Europa League, I think it could go either way. I don't think it's set in stone, and whether he gets the job or not could go either way. We play Villa, we play Chelsea, we play Liverpool. All those teams are around us. We've got Liverpool and Villa are both home games. Chelsea's away. That's advantageous if you're playing well and you're on a decent, either a level ground or an upward trajectory. If you start struggling, you don't want to play those teams. And we've got obviously 9 games, I think, left. So it's not just those 3 games. But if we can get 5, 6 or 7 points from those 3 games, I think that will be a decent return, because we're in a better position than all those 3 teams. You've still got to do well in some of the other games, of course, to get yourself over the line. If we've got 9 points, it's dreamland. Massive games. But Carrick's got to get more out of the players. Everything else will improve if those fundamentals are right, as they would. Everything for every team would improve when your fundamentals are right, when your basics are right. Arsenal are winning the league on basics as it stands right now. That is a functional, fit, well organised, efficient football team. It's nothing more than that. But those basics, and I'm sorry to bang on about it, but I'm just going to say them again: commitment, body language, motivation, getting out to opponents when they've got the ball, not cutting corners on or off the ball, being disciplined and treating every passage of play as if your life depends on it, and every duel as if your life depends on it. Arsenal have been the best at that this season, and they're top of the league. So every team would improve if you do those things well. But for United, we have not got a team good enough just to coast. in those departments. And if one of the reasons they can't do the things I just suggested then is part of its fitness, I'm speculating because we hear that the intensity levels of the sessions have gone down since Carrick came in. When I say fitness, I'm not saying these guys aren't fit. I'm talking fine details. These guys are supremely fit. Fit to the level that someone like me would never even grasp how fit these people are. Jesus, Benjamin Seschko was reading about him the other day. He's got like an ice chamber in his house. He's got a gym. He's got a football pitch. He's got a chef. He's got a masseuse. He's got everything you could want. These guys aren't on the piss or having chippies in the midweek. They're supreme, finely tuned athletes. So when I say levels of fitness, I mean minutiae, fine details of what they perhaps have now comparative to what they had when Carrick first came in. The other question mark, I guess, a little bit of a question mark anyway for Carrick, is his first two games were against City and Arsenal. And we were underdogs in those games. United are not an underdog club, but we're far better suited to being an underdog team. And Carrick walks in, the place is on its arse really, in the way that everyone was feeling after the Brighton defeat in the FA Cup. He's a Man United guy, he gets it, he's got a song there ready to go, he probably galvanises everybody quite quickly, he piggybacks onto the fitness levels of the team and they absolutely go for it against City and Arsenal and produce two stunning performances and results. You could say though, in some ways, those games are easy to get up for. There's less pressure on those games. Some sections of the fan base were not expecting an awful lot from those games. The challenge is now. You've lost the game. The natural bounce that we had when he first came in, which is no mean feat, as I've mentioned before, but because other interims have not provided United with a bounce, and he definitely did. But that natural bounce that was there seems to have, or the effect of that seems to be reducing. So now's your test. Can you get them up for the next game? Can you change something maybe in the tactics? Can we have a contingency plan? Can we have a plan B? What I'm not really sure what a plan A is really, but can we have a plan B? Can we do things a bit differently? Can we use some ingenuities? But get them fundamentals up. Do you know what? Weirdly, as much as Newcastle were much the better team, as much as our levels were down, as much as they controlled the game, we still should have won the game. Newcastle had 3 chances in the match. They scored 2 of them, and Gordon had a chance that he should have scored. You look at United, Cunha, by his standards, had what I would call a chance after about 5 or 6 minutes, really presentable opportunity. Mainoo had a good effort, which the keeper saved. Mbumo inexplicably skied one from 5 yards out. Yoro had the header, which he probably should have scored. Ugarte had a header which looped just over. Xerxes had that pile driver towards the end, which required a fantastic save from the goalkeeper. And we scored a goal. So you've got 6 presentable opportunities and a goal that we've scored versus 2 goals they scored and 1 presentable opportunity. But what that tells me is, when you rely on moments like we do, sometimes those moments dry up. And that's where you need a style of play. That's where you need something to fall back on, a framework, a set of principles, a set of non-negotiables that you live by as a team. Might be hard to do that in 8 games, but we haven't got that. And we haven't had that for a long, long time. And it mirrors the club. The club doesn't have any set of principles or values football-wise. It hasn't done for a long time. We haven't had a style of play other than counter-attacking since Louis van Gaal, which is incredible, 10 years ago. But when you rely on moments, those moments, as I say, sometimes it doesn't happen for you. Sometimes players miss chances, or you hit the post, or a VAR decision goes against you, or players have off days or whatever. You've got to fall back on something more than just moments. And I'll bring it back in again. If you don't have a style of play and those moments are not quite happening, even more so then you rely on those basics. Because our mission statement in the second half, our objective seemed to be get the ball to Bruno Fernandes and hope for the best. So it's all up for grabs. there's everything still to play for. It could go in the direction we all want it to go in. We could very well finish in the top three. But that defeat, as well as we've been doing, and we've accrued a lot of points, that defeat has put the cat amongst the pigeons when you look at the table and go, flipping out, there's 3 points separating 4 teams. So, got to get back at it. That Villa game, it's 10 days from the Newcastle game to the Villa game to prepare for it. I want to see a team come out like absolute rabid animals, like I said before, hell bent on getting those 3 points. If we come out like that, the chances of us winning just go up massively. But it all hinges on those basics, those fundamentals, those levels. Whether you struggle against a low block or not, you've got to have those levels high. And what we walked into was a sucker punch the other night, because what can happen if you don't have those fundamentals is that teams like Newcastle can from nothing get a goal like they did and sting you. And there was only ever, at the point of the time Newcastle got their winning goal, just before they scored it, there was only one team on the front foot. Newcastle were done. We were all over them. They were finished in the game. But we didn't make the most of our opportunities. They come up the other end. They have one little burst left. They had a sub full of energy who went on the run and scored the goal. But the reason we were in that position in the first place was because 70 minutes our levels were so low, and we decided to play for the last 20. Can't do that in this league. Or maybe sometimes you can, but sometimes you can't. And in that instance, we couldn't. So get them levels back up, and I think we'll see a big difference against Villa, and hopefully get back to winning ways, and certainly back to seeing the team play with that appetite, that desire, that hunger, that commitment, that motivation, that body language. Any Man United fan will always get behind that. And if it doesn't quite work out, we'll forgive them for it. But being ponderous on the ball, taking far too long, not getting out to meet opposition players when they're in a dangerous position, standing too close to each other, not moving after you've passed it, sloppiness, body language not being right, not good enough. Get them levels up and we'll be all right. Glazers out.